Partnered by Times Influence.
The Investor Summit of Uttar Pradesh in 2018 is a one-in-a-kind that is being held in India's most populous state. It's important to talk about Uttar Pradesh because, as the Chief Minister there says, India cannot develop with Uttar Pradesh lagging behind. Uttar Pradesh is not just India's most populous state that houses nearly 16.5% of the country's population, but some of the lesser known facts about UP, and I come from that state, surprised me as well. Number one state as far as expressways is concerned, a state that ranks number 3 in terms of fabric production. So there are many facts about Uttar Pradesh that I intend to bring about with my expert panel right here, and I've got a panel that has an adequate representation from the government that is going to be the main architect of this summit, and of course industry that has many queries, questions, and will be putting the top dollar there. So this investor summit has created a lot of buzz. बहुत road shows हुए हैं, बहुत buzz create हुआ है. इस level पे पहली बार इस तरह की summit हो रही है. One is curious to know that what was the brief that you went with? What was the brief? What is the focus of this summit going to be? What is it that you intend to achieve at the end of this exercise?
Actually, the brief was very simple. The agenda of the government was development of industry, industrial development, and employment generation. So, in the very first cabinet meeting that the government held, they formed a cabinet subcommittee to frame the government's industrial policy, and within 3 months the industrial policy was ready, and then government said that we must come out with the sectoral policies, and the focus in the industrial policy as well as sectoral policy is on one hand to give promotion to investment in the sectoral, but main focus is employment generation. And once all the policies was ready, it was the logical step next to popularize whatever the policy we have made and attract investment inside UP. So we had a number of roadshows, and all those roadshows will culminate into this investor summit that we are going to hold on.
Just before I go any further on the investor summit, Mr. Tandon, it's only fair that I ask you this question. A lot of development that one has seen in UP is restricted to pockets like Noida, the authority that you head, or Ghaziabad. The services sector has come around here, but Western UP has developed very well. But if you see Purvanchal, if you see Bundelkhand, those have lagged behind. I'm presuming the idea of the summit, and like the Chief Minister told us in an interaction, is to ensure that development reaches to far-flung areas of Uttar Pradesh that have lagged behind. How do you see that happen? How do you see the summit play a role there?
It is quite natural that the industry comes to a place where the infrastructure is well developed, and that is the reason of industry centering around Delhi. But to ensure an equitable development of the entire state, UP has come out with a policy in which a lot of emphasis on employment generation and as well as balanced development of the other areas. So we have a lot of incentives for the industry if they set up a project in the lesser developed part of UP in terms of GST and other subsidies.
Okay, let me just quickly get something out of the way. Mr. Sinha also mentioned that briefly, and I want to take this up forward. The government was right in first coming out with an industrial policy, and I'm sure that's of interest to investors like yourselves and many more who will perhaps make a beeline for UP. Apparently 8,000 delegates have already registered. But Getamber Anand, let me begin with you. You've got your skin in the game as far as UP is concerned. You've got big operations here in UP, in Noida. So first the question, are you going to go to areas where the development has not happened, and how satisfied are you with the industrial policy that has been framed?
The development is focused around these metro areas of UP. There is a requirement of, I'm into housing and real estate, so I would say for us there's an opportunity in places where people haven't gone, and there is a demand for, there's a shortage of housing, and there's a demand for products that we make. So our experience, let me tell you, with this change in government, there's a positive intention which is coming forth, and I'm saying this in front of both the officers present here. There is an intent to make things happen and work. It is coming right from the top, and we have a very good team of officers supporting that. The only downside is now when somebody from real estate wants to invest in UP, the first thing they do is they pick up the phone and ask us, because I also represent CREDAI, which has 12,500 members across the country. So they pick up the phone and ask me, how's it here? You know, because we are reading in the papers that there is some sort of negativity being thrown in the media by certain elements in officialdom, because, you know, we were discussing this in the room next door. There are still some elements who are trying to project the entire industry as negative, but this is not true, let me tell you, and this sends a very negative signal to the rest of the country, the investors over there, because when we talk to them, we say, no, it's not like that, it's just a one-off case, it's not so, but yes, that is a concern. Let me table that. There's, you know, real estate development has invested more than 1 lakh crores in this region. And what I was reading in the papers today, the commitments that have come till now is only 11,500 crores. So we are the biggest opportunity here for the government. So we have to be actually given more encouragement to be more aggressive and work in areas where there's no development.
I will take that encouragement part in just a bit, but I think, you know, as a media person, I can tell you that investment is not so much about policy. Investment is an act of faith. You know, when you have faith, when you जब भरोसा है कि सरकार ठीक दिशा में जा रही है, तभी investment होता है, otherwise investment नहीं होता है. Mr. Gupta, if I may ask you, do you finally see that faith? At least there is a, you know, with bureaucrats like this, at least there is an intention to go in the right direction.
The investment has to happen first in the national region, and then it has to happen in the state region. The industry was down for last 10 years, since 2008, and the real demand has yet not picked up. It's happening now that there is a buoyancy in the market, and the aspirations have gone up after the BJP government, Modi government came in. So the investment in the industry is going to pick up now. And on top of it, if the UP state as such is going to give a lot of incentives and a lot of promotions for investment, I think investment will look for this state, because this is a consuming state. And being a consuming state, the investors would like to come to this state so that they can find a market which is nearby this area. So I feel it's a very positive approach which is happening right now.
सतीश जी, आपसे पूछना चाहती हूँ, इन्वेस्टमेंट जो होता है, एक तो होता है कि पॉलिसी की निरंतरता, यू नो, पॉलिसी कंटिन्यूटी है तो इन्वेस्टमेंट होगा, नहीं तो इन्वेस्टर को लगता है अब ये सरकार आई है, ये जाएगी, दूसरी आएगी, अभी क्या होगा. और यूपी में ये बहुत हुआ है, एक सरकार ने रूल्स आके बदले, दूसरी सरकार ने उसको फिर बदल दिया. फाइनली हम शायद एक गवर्नमेंट देख रहे हैं जो कि सीरियस है इन्वेस्टमेंट के बारे में, जो कि सीरियस है कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन करना पड़ेगा. अगर 56% आपका यूथ है यूपी में तो उनको एम्प्लॉयमेंट देना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो वो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड को डीमन बनते देर नहीं लगती है. उस दिशा में अगर हम बात करें तो इन्वेस्टमेंट करने का टाइम उत्तर प्रदेश में आ गया. आप करेंगे इन्वेस्ट?
देखिए, बहुत अच्छा सवाल आपने पूछा है जी. ये शायद एक चेंजिंग है, सिनेरियो है इस समय. इंडस्ट्री किसी भी स्टेट के लिए, किसी भी कंट्री के लिए सबसे ज्यादा बैकबोन है. एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट करती है, रेवेन्यू जनरेट करती है, और सारी फैसिलिटीज जो है जनरेट करती है. नॉर्मली क्या होता है, इंडस्ट्री को एक तो कंटिन्यूटी चाहिए जैसे आपने कहा है, दूसरा इंडस्ट्री अपने आप में सक्षम है अपने सारे रिसोर्सेज को जनरेट करने के लिए. इंडस्ट्री चाहती है मैं पीसफुली अपना काम करता रहूं, मुझे कोई हर रोज आके धमकाए ना. जो रेड टेप की बात करते हैं, आई थिंक उसमें अभी बहुत एटीट्यूडल चेंज आ गया है. आज गवर्नमेंट भी चाहती है, गवर्नमेंट टीम भी चाहती है कि इंडस्ट्री हमारे यहाँ आए, लोगों को रोजगार मिले, हमारे यहाँ रेवेन्यू जनरेट हो.
Mr. Sinha, you know, you've got a fair section from the industry view. The industry and by and large, I think what I make out of it is like Mr. Satish said here, that industry wants, let me work in peace, don't sit on my head. If I need resources, I'll come to you. Otherwise, just let me survive. Let me manage my resources. But you've gone on many road shows. There were 7 road shows done by the UP government, some of them very successful in places like Mumbai. You had the top-notch CEOs come. What is the feedback that you've got, and how has the feedback gone in changing the policy environment, the policy framework?
See, the perception part is one thing, but we have to deliver on the ground. Absolutely. And government was clear from the day one that we have to deliver on the ground. So that is why we took a lot of steps have been taken for ease of doing business. And how to the industrialists at the end should get the benefits of the ease of doing business, and our person on the ground should be aware what he has to deliver in a time-bound manner. So Government of India, the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion had come out with 372 action points for all the state governments to take corrective steps in their respective states. And we have taken steps in all 372 points, and we had submitted a report to Government of India by the November 2017. And to implement those points, we have also come out with a single window system. And whatever we have promised in ease of doing business, that a particular clearance has to be given, suppose a pollution clearance has to be given, or a labor department clearance has to be given, it's to be given in time-bound manner. So we have guaranteed it through our Janit Guarantee Adhiniyam that this much time will be taken and it will be given within a time-bound manner. And moreover, we have avoided all kinds of physical action. We have what the online system, the single window system is a 100% online system. So there is a single application form. Industry will have to fill up the form and it will be sent to different departments. They will get the clearances online. So it's our endeavor that the industrialist doesn't have to run around anywhere. All the clearances will be given online and in a time-bound manner.
I think cynics will say it doesn't sound like Uttar Pradesh at all anymore, where appears.
There's a definite change.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I never thought I could have a conversation with a UP bureaucrat about a year back on single window clearance and how a time-bound.
We worked together with both these officers when the delivery of apartments was a big question mark.
Right.
And I think in the last till December we were able to, with their help, able to deliver about 40,000 apartments which are stuck for so many years.
Absolutely. Let me turn to 3 focus areas of investment, and I think most investors have questions on these 3 big areas. Mr. Tandon, I'll come to you on so there are 3 big areas: as land bank, the cost of electricity and access to credit. But that's largely for MSMEs. I'll ask the gentleman here on that. But Mr. Tandon, the question is land bank availability, and that has always been politically a tricky decision for any state, any government, more so in Uttar Pradesh because it's always the hotbed of very political, big controversial decisions on land. But how can you finally tell the investors that land will not be an issue? How have you ensured that?
I would tell you what we have done in Noida. As pointed out by Mr. Alok Sinha, my colleague, that we have taken few steps towards ease of doing business. We have moved towards online approval of maps, and the system would be placed in a couple of months. We have moved towards GIS mapping of our industrial estates, so that once the system is in place, again in a couple of months, industries would be able to get information about the availability of plots as well as infrastructure at the click of the mouse. We have moved towards improvement of infrastructure in Noida area. We have opened multi-level parkings. We have come up with elevated roads and underpasses. We have launched new schemes for industrial estates. And just to give an example of the demand that we are receiving from the industry, we launched a scheme of small size plots up to 10,000 square meters, and we had 120 plots on offer, and we got 600 applications. And the allotment of that has been done in a transparent manner. Then we have launched a scheme for allotment of large size industrial plots of 5 acres plus, and we have got tremendous response, and some of the top names in the industry like Paytm, like TCS, Kentaro, they have all applied and are getting land allotted. So we have taken care that industries are allotted land in a system in which there is no red tapeism, and they can also apply online without any physical contact.
Not many people know that UP has the largest expressway network in the country. Not many people know that UP has very many airports, and not just Lucknow. There's an airport around Zebar. How crucial are the infrastructure gaps that come into making an investment decision, and how comforting is the fact that some of these factors are being looked into by UP? Let's begin with you, Mr. Gupta.
Let's understand UP is a big state.
Absolutely.
We may talk in number of kilometers of the expressway. Yes, we may be the longest, but we require much more expressways because of the length and breadth of the state. And we need to upgrade our infrastructure to a better level if we need to move from only the metro-centric investment hubs to the Purvanchal or the other states of hub. So infrastructure has to improve considerably. Only then people will find investments coming into those areas. It's a very, very critical stage. And the electricity also has to improve, as we said, in the industrial sector. You raised this question, I like to answer that, which was not got answered. Let's look at it from the perspective of MSMEs. If our objective for industrial policy is to provide employment, employment will not come from the large industries. Employment will come from the MSME industries.
That's right.
The policy has to be in favor of the MSME industries. Today, any industry of a small size, let's say even 50 kilowatt of power generation comes up, he has to have a diesel generator along with him, because he is not sure what time he will get the electricity. Maybe for 2 hours outage or 3 hours outage, and he can't afford that.
True.
The MSME industry would not mind paying higher salary if you can assure that the electricity will not get out. I think this is very important. Big industries can go to the electricity exchange, can get electricity at a discounted price, but MSME cannot go, because there you have to go for a 1 megawatt of minimum electricity. They can have generating capacities, but MSME cannot have generating capacity. You have to make them sure that MSME industries up to a certain 100, 200 kilowatt hour will be no outage of electricity if one can ensure that MSME industry in this state would flourish.
Sure.
That's very, very important.
No, I think MSMEs will be the backbone of industry there. But before I go any forward and come back to Mr. Sinha on this, Mr. Anand, you know, UP has sanctioned 3 new metros, for instance. Is this a decision that will drive your investments into new places like, say, an Agra? I don't know if you're already present there, but, you know, an Agra is going to have its own metro. There are 2 other places where the metro has been sanctioned. Are these investment attracting decisions?
Well, not really, Supriya. UP is a land of opportunity. There is so much of demand, and I speak for housing, which drives industry.
Absolutely.
It drives steel, Mr. Agrawal और अपने महेश जी की इंडस्ट्री को भी ड्राइव करता है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट ड्राइव करता है, तो इतनी अपॉर्चुनिटी है रियल एस्टेट के लिए यूपी में, चाहे मेट्रो हो या ना हो. अब हमने एक नया वर्टिकल शुरू किया है जिसमें हम छोटे मकान बना रहे हैं. वी डन अ प्रोजेक्ट इन बुलंदशहर, 11 लाख का मकान, हॉरिजॉन्टल डेवलपमेंट, देयर इज नो मेट्रो देयर, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज पुअर, but वहाँ की local population is okay with that road, but it needs to be improved, definitely. But we have gone there nonetheless, and we are one of the first where nobody has dared to go before. We've done a project like that in Muradabad, similar, and it's been very well responded to. So the opportunity is huge, metro or no metro.
Right.
If the roads are there, if the metros are there, things will look much better, and you'll have a lot of people from those areas not migrating to, you know, Noida, Greater Noida, because that will generate a lot of jobs over there, and there's no need for them to come here. For example, बुलंदशहर पे जहाँ हमने प्रोजेक्ट किया था, they like milk production. हम बात कर रहे थे. They are one of the largest dairy producers within the state. The gold jewelry ornament making is the largest in Bulandshahr. I didn't know that, but there's so much job. So I asked them, why do you come to the city? They said, because the living conditions for our children are much better over here. So roads, metros, electricity, and good housing will actually encourage them to stay there. And of course, for investors, real estate is one of the biggest investors in any state.
Absolutely.
And it drives revenue like nothing else. Like, look at stamp duty collection, you know, every apartment you sell.
And it has a spiraling effect on industries around, industries and hubs come around.
350 items we use in our houses. And that means tens and thousands of industries can flourish because of real estate play in the entire state. But people are not coming here because, you see, metros of course are attractive, it makes business sense here. But to go to those areas, we need some more proactive hand-holding by the government, which will happen because, you see, a lot of those areas don't have master plans.
Sure.
So master plans need to be made where we can get, you know, we can buy land and get the Naksha sanctioned. So these are some limitations in smaller towns, but the demand over there is huge for housing.
Right.
Huge.
Mr. Sinha, you know, I'm curious to ask you, is fiscal incentive the only incentive that the industry eventually looks for? That's question number 1. And question number 2 is, you know, you mentioned earlier how you want to have, you know, sanctions being done or time-bound permissions or nods coming in. For all of this, one wonders if it's digital connectivity that's very, very crucial. And as far as digital connectivity is concerned, it's not just UP, but many other states lack in that. How do you plan to plug that loophole?
So the digital connectivity, about a week back, we have come out with a policy where laying down of fiber optic cables and providing digital connectivity has been encouraged by the electronics department. But I would like to touch upon the 2-3 points which were raised earlier. Regarding MSME, this is the first time where a policy in UP we have come out with a policy where the incentive is linked to employment and not directly linked to investment. So because MSME category is linked to investment, that if so much investment, then it is MSME. But we have also linked it, if an industry provides so many employments, then they will also be entitled to the same amount of incentive, which is otherwise a bigger investment industry would have been entitled to. Regarding electricity, we are also aware that the rate of electricity is a big factor. And in order to mitigate that particular point, what we have done is we have allowed open access in a very, very transparent and flexible manner. So, in fact, electricity department has opened a desk where all the proposals for open access will be entertained, and somebody can buy electricity from exchange or from any of the power producers, and then they can approach electricity department for open access, and they will be provided open access. The rates of electricity are fixed by the regulator, so government doesn't have, so interplay of different sectors of rates, government doesn't have much role, but government can facilitate industry by providing them open access. Regarding infrastructure, it is although we have the longest length of expressways, but there are certain areas, as Mahesh correctly pointed out, which are not yet open to expressways.
Yes.
But our government is very, very clear, and Bundelkhand Expressway, Gorakhpur Link, East Purvanchal Expressway, all these areas are going to be open. Initially, you had mentioned that why Noida, Greater Noida area has a lot of investment, whereas the eastern part and Bundelkhand part doesn't have much investment. And you will see that infrastructure and social infrastructure has a major role to play in attracting investment. So government is aware of this fact, and that is why we want to open expressways in all these areas, so that all the world-class infrastructure or the best in the country infrastructure can become available to all parts of Uttar Pradesh. So naturally, the industry will get attracted there.
A quick brand UP thing. Nobody thought that brand Uttar Pradesh can be marketed well, but I think we've picked out some threads in the conversation here and in your very high blitzkrieg sort of a campaign there. Is brand Uttar Pradesh finally going to be a brand to reckon with? And Mr. Sinha, you're the best place to tell us about it.
Actually, when we attended meetings with the central government, they were very clear that unless UP develops, India cannot achieve the kind of growth rate that India wants to achieve. So from there, we caught this phrase, powering new India.
That's right.
So UP is the main engine which will power the growth of new India. And if UP has to, with the kind of steps that we have taken, we have to project all these steps, what we have taken to the country as well as to the world. So brand UP had to be promoted, and we had good credentials. We have developed such credentials which can now easily be developed, which can easily be marketed, and people can say, okay, what you are saying is correct. So brand UP is a new brand which is now overtaking and which will be now powering new India.
I think this is music to ears of someone who comes from that state. But thank you very much, gentlemen, Mr. Sinha, Mr. Tandon, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Gupta and Mr. Anand for being with us on this edition of a very special show. Uttar Pradesh will develop and will ensure that a new India develops by 2022, and that's exactly what this Investor India Summit of 2018 is all about. We'll keep our eyes very close to the ground and see how interest in UP develops, what really happens to projects, the intention of investing there, because investment, as I said earlier, is not just an act of policy, it's also an act of faith, and I think it's time that the industry reposes its fate in Uttar Pradesh. Thank you very much for being with us.
Partnered by Times Influence.